Alrighty, hello every folks, and well, welcome to another one of these. So, I wanted to kind of see the interesting stuff going on in the maps today. So, without any further ado, let's just get right into this thing. So, Gates of Elmorica, everyone's probably done this one a million times. So it doesn't seem like there's too much, too much unexpected here. However, one thing that did surprise me a little is this right here. I never really considered it, but there actually is a another drop. So if you're ever curious how the drops work in this one, seems like, yeah, every one of these tiles just has 3 potential table listings. And I actually have the paper guide in front of me here. I don't know if you can hear the pages, to double check what each of these can potentially be as we go along. I know this seems pretty mundane, but it's kind of interesting into getting into the mindset of these different things here. So, first of all, these ones are, as you've probably expected if you've run this game a good while, it's just a chance of 1 of 2 mend leaves, and then basically the first drop can either be a mend leaf, a magic leaf, a hemp thread, or a hemp thread. There's two tables for that, and then a third one that's just mend leaf, magic leaf, or mend leaf plus 1, magic leaf plus 1, hemp thread, or wool thread. However, realistically, your luck's probably going to be pretty standard, because I believe it just kind of gives you average luck to begin with. But if one of your guest characters ends up stepping on one of those, potentially you could see some better drops. However, this one down here, this 1, 2, 4, can actually give you a bronze ingot. Well, actually, there's another weird part, because it actually potentially could give you something else too, because it also has saltpeter in there. I don't remember for absolutely certain, but I think you can't actually make... Actually, no, I think you can make saltpeter. Never mind. I was mixing it up with the black powder, looking at that. I was like, that'd be kind of weird if you could suddenly make fusel and Chiridian stuff really early, but... Nah, I mean... The bronze ingot is probably your best thing as far as stuff you can get here. There's really no dragon shield drop like a Knight of Lotus or anything like that here, but whatever. It's pretty neat at least that somebody bothered to put that there. Not really anything too spectacular to speak of, though it is funny that they do go out of their way to to show that they got a mend leaf, yeah, or a magic leaf, yay. But yeah, basically all they say is just loot the courtyard. You're basically good for nothing in this fight, which, fair enough. You know what? You guys basically worthless here. There's actually no drops at all in Elmorica Passageway, which I could have sworn isn't the case. I'm fairly certain right there's actually a drop that you can get. So I'm not sure if that was added later or if that was an oversight. And actually, before I forget, to clarify one thing from last time, there's actually one little detail here. I went ahead and I looked up a list that somebody had put together of all the different recruit stuff just to make sure I didn't miss anything, because there was a question last time over what exactly the guide missed, because it mentioned 1 class for each recruit skill. And it's not like it was limited by availability for those classes, because, yeah, them things were all over the dang place. So, stuff that they missed. You can actually learn Recruit from a Cleric. To the guy that I said I would verify that, you were right. My bad on that. But yeah, Knights, Clerics, Ranger, Princess, White Knight, Paladin, and Songstress can all learn Recruit naturally. Coax is from Wizard, Buccaneer, and the Patriarch or Matriarch. Subdue and Tame are Beastmaster only. Seraph's Pact is Cleric, Priest, Princess, and Divine Knight. Fey Pact is Rogue, Vartan, and Shaman, interestingly enough, which I guess that makes sense. Which is interesting because I believe that was, I believe Seraphs and Fey might have been moved around for one vision. I could be wrong on that. It doesn't matter. Details. Demon's Pact, still Lich. Master Undead, still Necromancer. Control Golem is Warlock or Witch, and the Weesh, or Wiki, or whatever you want to call it. I like calling it the Weesh. I don't know. I mean, there's really no official thing. I tried looking it up, and it just said Witch. But whatever, Weesh. So Deneb's thing. And yeah, so that's about that. Moving on. So, yeah, no drops or whatever. I'm certain that there's a drop over there. What does it mention? It says to learn a skill before the fight. Let me see what that skill is, actually. It is scanned badly. What a shocker. So yeah, the skill they're recommending to learn is swords. Fair enough. I mean, you only have a sword to begin with. Personally, I would say anatomy, but whatever. It doesn't matter. The only time that it would ever come up is, do you remember that Stubborn Wretch challenge I was talking about? That's like the only time you would need to optimize that particular skill choice to be anatomy. It never matters any other time. Anywho, a bit of an interesting note is they actually have the buttons color-coded over here, which all of the standard UI stuff for the PSP always has it in black and white, so it's kind of neat that they decided to apparently go with different colors. I'm trying to think why it would be green for triangle. That sounds familiar, but I don't know. Was that the like old like Super Nintendo buttons or something like that that had green for that top button? I could be wrong. You know what? Actually, let's Google that real quick. Google. Let's see. Because that was like the European version or something, wasn't it? That was all colorful. Nope. That's actually, it would have been square that's green on that one. Alright, screw it. I have no idea. I have no idea why it's green for triangle, but moving on. So, let's see. Learn skill before the fight. Everyone who participates in a battle gets a share of experience and skill points, whether they're swinging a sword on the front line or digging for buried treasure in the back. Fair enough. Denim should have earned enough skill points to purchase a weapon proficiency, which would allow him to fight more effectively in the next battle and start building weapon ranks in a category of his choice. Before you select the next room in the castle, press triangle to pull up the unit list and select Denim with X. Scroll down to use the skills menu, put short already has a short sword equipped, so one-handed proficiency would be a fine choice. Select Learn Swords, 50 points, yada yada. Using the data menu to save your game, go to the passageway. This time there's no buried treasures to find. Again, I'm still certain that's wrong. So there's no reason for you to not leap into the fray. Try to begin or end every battle with an attack, even if you're not dealing much damage. Every swing adds a little experience to your sword skill. See? It was in here the whole time. You can perform actions like attacking at any point in the turn. To improve your accuracy, try to strike from beside, or better yet, behind your targets. When you're done moving, turn to face your foes so they have won't have an easy time getting behind you. The battle ends when Sir Ogre falls, and since he's an aggressive frontline fighter, that shouldn't take long. If possible, try to drag things out by focusing on his henchmen first in order to earn more experience and skill points for the party. Technically true. I was kind of hoping that this would actually break that down a little bit more, but not so much. Alright, so recruit your first batch of companions. So after the battle, a grateful Duke Runaway sets Denim up with 30,000 goth and his own knightly order. Your first 5 companions offer their services at the end of the event scene. If you choose the first dialogue option in the game's opening event, you'll get a randomly named male warrior, a female archer, a male wizard, a female cleric, and a male rune fencer. If you chose the second dialogue option, the genders are reversed. Note that the female wizards are called enchantresses and female rune fencers are called valkyries, but they're the exact same class. After reviewing each character, select Recruit to sign them up. You know what? I never knew this! I thought it was totally random! I never realized that was, wow. Huh. I mean, again, the weird details in this game, I gotta say. So select Recruit to sign them up. Make sure to say yes when prompted, as you won't get replacement troops if you turn these down. You should turn them down, though, because they're all Wallister, and in most cases you're gonna end up fighting the Wallister, and it's just gonna screw up your cast frame. Anyway. So, consider a class change. Now that you have 3 warriors, you may want to consider changing the class of your hero by selecting Change Class from your hero's page in the party menu and using a class mark item. The bosses of the previous 2 battles have dropped Berserker's marks and Knight marks respectively, and you can buy class marks in the shop that would allow you to become an archer, wizard, cleric, or rune fencer. But of course, you have one of each of those classes already. If your hero falls in combat, the battle is lost, so it's a good idea to give your hero a high defense class that makes him an unappealing target to your foes and allows him to survive concentrated attacks when necessary. At this point in the game, it's hard to do better than a knight. Not only do they have great defensive stats and skills, but they can use healing spells to further defend themselves and their allies. However, since you don't have any knights yet, switching into this class sets your hero back to level 1. I mean, it's no big deal, it's 2 levels back. That's all the more reason to switch early so you can regain the lost levels quickly. You should also have enough skill points left over to purchase an additional skill slot and skill to fill it. A knight can learn Divine Magic, which allows him to cast magic spells within that school. However, you must learn the spells individually. And actually, a fun note on that, in terms of the level back thing, in terms of how much of a non-factor it is, if you optimize everything at the very start of the game, you can wind up with warriors at level 7, and it's still worth it to go back to knight trying to do like a whole Iron Man solo no shops kind of situation, because just being able to suddenly build them up defensively gives you a pretty decent set of bonuses as time goes on, so that's pretty handy. Personally, that's the way I prefer handling that situation, but either way. So, gear up at Almorica. Cities and castles like Almorica offer shops where you can buy equipment, spells, and items and recruit additional troops. Each of your new recruits comes fully equipped with appropriate starting equipment and skills, so you shouldn't need to do much shopping on their behalf, and you can't really upgrade your own gear because you probably won't be at a sufficient level to use it. But if you keep your hero as a warrior, you should be able to buy and equip a level 3 Gladius. You have enough equipments to fill out a starting party as in the battles to come, so unless you want to spend your precious money recruiting ones with better randomly generated stats, there isn't much point in hiring anyone yet. You're chaos free, man! I'm just kidding. Nobody really figured that out until years later, so whatever. The best way to spend the Duke's Scoff is to pick up rings for every party member and Arcana for your spellcasters. Truth. While Denham and Kashua have quality gear in the jewelry equipment slots, everyone else's is empty. For aggressive classes like warriors, archers, and rune fencers, buy attack-boosting warriors rings under the armor menu, and for defensive classes like clerics and wizards, defense-boosting defenders rings are much better. Very true. Basically increases your attack threshold or defense threshold. Anywho, buy spells and learn them early. You can also buy spells, grimoires, and scrolls from the Shop's Arcana section, and use the magic menu in each character's page to have them learn those spells permanently. The game allows you to learn spells even if you aren't at a high enough level to cast them, so it's a good idea to learn them early in case you can't get back to a town after leveling up. Fair enough. I mean, usually you probably want to save the books and use them for one free cast, but it's really not that big of a deal. You can see at what level each class can cast a spell by holding square, which is pink for some reason, and pressing the right button at the shop menu. Yeah, I have a feeling they were originally like see-through or something, and then just somebody like penciled in those colors. Wonder what that's about. Your wizard enchantress already knows the dark magic skill, so buy a Grimoire d'Olieu. Once learned, this will allow him or her to cast the damaging Word of Pain spell after reaching level 2. You can also plan ahead by buying and using Grimoire Sommier, which will allow them to cast Sleep at level 3. Neato. I mean, fair enough. Personally, I prefer going for, like, just different elements. Like, I usually like going water, but dark works pretty well. It's just because a lot of the early game, I mean, unless you do get sleep, like it says here, a lot of the early game you're going to be fighting undead stuff, so Word of Pain, kind of worthless to you, but still. Kashua, your knight, and your cleric can all use Divine Magic. Kashua already knows Exorcism, Innervate, and Heal, so she's all set. Does she actually still learn... I forget if she actually has Exorcism in the base game. She might. I just know she almost never uses it, is the problem. You basically have to use Mend Leaves on her, which I'm curious if they'll bring that up. Anyway, buy a Grimoire Vitalité, so your knight can cast Heal at 3, and a copy of Grimoire Exorcism, so your cleric can cast Exorcism at the same point. Remember, you have to make them read the Arcana by selecting Learn, yada yada. In other words, they again wanted to do the D&D thing where you gotta take some time to memorize your spells. Anywho. So, Tynmouth. What's it say here? So, Canopus is your strongest ally in the early in the game, or / in the game. It would have worked just fine. His weapon proficiencies are already rank 2, which means he can use deadly finishing moves when he gets enough TP. His ability to fly allows him to clear any terrain, making it easy for him to slip behind foes for a backstab, or reach with and hold exceptional sniping positions. Canopus can learn both spells and melee attack skills, but it's best to treat him as an unusually mobile archer. Fair enough. And do love that they have the little flavor text for the maps here. So white limestone formations jut like teeth from the top of this gentle grassy hill, and that's what these limestone rocks are. It's kind of cool. Now, out of curiosity, what are these drops that are nearby? So we got, looks like 777, 778, 789, and 788. So for standard luck, that's herbs, log, mend leaf, magic leaf. For 8, that's bundle of herbs, snarewood, mend +1, magic +1. Then 9 is bundle of herbs, burn wood, mend +2, magic +2. So not terrible. It's actually pretty solid, all things considered. With characters with good luck, or with terrible luck, sorry, they get nightshade, bundle of herbs, a log, and then either water spirits or overripe fruit. So, fine. Still all just craftables. What about good luck? What do we get there? We got copper, fruit, bundle of herbs, or a beast hide. That'd be pretty handy early on. Bronze, fruit of the adept, herbal extract, or leather. Or silver, fruit of the adept, +1, gemstones, or crystal. You know what? Actually, this makes a pretty okay case for some of these things. I never really thought about it last time. But, like, for example, getting access to beast hide and leather, as well as, like, fruit of the adept +1, that's actually... that's not bad. As far as stuff that you could potentially make some use of early on. Like, leather is one of those things that you really don't get much of early on, and, yeah, kind of useful. Let's see. So, selecting your opening formation, with your army geared up and ready to go, set a course for Tynemouth Hill to the west. Now that you have a proper army behind you, it's a squad, but whatever, you must position your units at the start of the battle. Put your fighters in the front, to the lower left side of the screen, with your cleric and wizard or enchantress safely behind them. Ride the chariot back in time. You have your foes outnumbered 3-2, so this should be an easy fight to win. Take the opportunity to familiarize yourself with the basics of combat, and don't worry if you mess up. Once you unlock the Chariot Tarot, after a few turns of combat, you can rewind up to the last 50 turns without penalty. To do so, hold down the left trigger to pull up your turn history. You can highlight any character's icon to watch his or her last turn, then press triangle to bring up a text list of their actions. When you find the point where the battle went off the rails, press X to go back and make different decisions. And another little note here is right here at the bottom, Eve. I don't think I've actually seen, like, I've seen Eve with an E. I don't think I've ever seen Eve, like, spelled Yeva like that, or Yeva. I don't know. Again, I don't know for certain that that's actually changed, and I do appreciate that you can actually tell that they use the screenshot function, because this always pops up on the bottom right here. So you can tell, like, with some of these, it's cut off very slightly, but then, but yeah, with a lot of them, you can tell they were using the screenshot function. It's a neat little touch. Like, you can see right here, they cut off just a little bit. I never noticed it the first time through, but then in this case, they're like, yeah, we forgot to cut off a little bit at the bottom, so you can see that it's the screenshot function. I love it. Moving on. I'm sorry, I get amused by the weirdest things. Anywho. Alright. Okay, approach Orba carefully. See, okay, one little note here. I always thought it would have been really interesting if they had a mode in this game where you could have A, had world mode at the very start, and B, just like had a hard mode where the AI ended up getting attacker and defender rings for those first low level areas. I know it's kind of implied to be that really realistically nobody has that much money laying around, so it probably wouldn't. Maybe everybody might not be able to afford those because you do get a pretty penny at the very start of the game. But it would have been cool to see more of those around. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's clearly a story mode feature. But okay. So early in the fight, keep your forces clustered together so you can quickly surround and slay the foes that attack you. Alright, but this fight gets tricky as you approach Orba, who usually hangs in the back with an archer or two at the opposite end of the map. As a level 2 wizard, Orba has access to long-range damage-dealing spells that wreak havoc on low-resistance characters, and his archers can often finish off a character before help can arrive. Fortunately, you have 3 rounds to end the fight before a fallen character dies, and you can always have someone use a Blessing Stone if time is running out. To reach and slay Orba safely, have your hardier fighters lead the charge, and keep softer classes like the Rune Fencer or Valkyrie or Archer in the back. Fair enough, but if you get to him, that means Canopus has not done his job. Like, clearly he's over here just staring at a tree like, I found some birds. This is, it's looking, it's a pretty sweet bird over here. I'm liking this bird. Anyway, so join Canopus and he'll return the favor. At the beginning of the fight, Lancelot's winged friend Canopus soars in to join you as a guest character. Keep him alive through the battle, and you can recruit him as a full-fledged member. Canopus is so strong that you shouldn't need to do a lot to protect him. His incredible mobility and long-range bow attack keep him out of harm's way. But your troops need to move aggressively towards the middle of the battlefield to avoid leaving Canopus as the primary target of the enemy offensive. Note that unlike Canopus, you don't need to protect Vice or Cashwood. They'll warp away if their lives are in danger. And I do like that they mentioned that in particular. But yeah, fun note is yeah, even if you're running this solo, he will probably dominate the entire fight. It seems like the lower his health goes, the more likely he is to attack Orba. But anyway. So, close is good enough for some spells. Remember, you gain MP every turn, so you can afford to use your wizard's Paralytic Wave spell freely. It hits a square and every foe next to it, so if a foe is just out of reach, you might be able to hit it by targeting an adjacent square. Fair enough, good advice. But be careful you don't accidentally catch any of your allies, unless, of course, you're willing to make that sacrifice to snare your foes. What they didn't mention is, if Denham's using his stun immunity. So archers are incredibly useful. Even with their weakest bows, they can target foes from positions far away enough to avoid retaliation. Distance won't affect accuracy, so that makes the longest shots possible. In fact, bow-wielding archers can even target foes outside of their highlighted range. As long as the target is inside the archer's highlighted range, distance won't affect accuracy, so make it the longest... Wait, what? I mean, even if you go outside of it, to be honest, it really won't affect it anyway. There's an accuracy penalty, but you will hit often enough to make it worthwhile. Isn't that right? I wonder, is there actually an accuracy penalty? Okay, I gotta note down to check that for next time. I never really realized that there was an accuracy penalty for firing outside of range, but you know what? It absolutely makes sense, so we'll assume that's right. Actions aren't as free as they seem. That about sums up most of the game's mechanics right there. On each character's turn, it can move, use an action skill, although you probably don't know any yet, and make a selection from the Act menu, such as using an attack, item, or spell in any order you like. But don't do more than you need to. Every action you perform and every step you take adds to the amount of recovery time before that character can act again. You can view a character's RT by highlighting it and looking at the number to the left of the character icons at the bottom of the screen. There's a big difference from many strategy games where movement is free and there's no penalty for adjusting a character's position when it comes, or when its turn comes around. Very true. Very true. Alright. Moving on here to Cicero. Alright, back to reading from the book here, because this one is blurry as crap. Alright, so, before the time over to Galwa, this town in Almarca Marshes, in the Almarca Marshes, was the center of a cult worshipping the sea god Vask. So, Donalto, as a named character, your new cleric stats are likely to be super superior to those of your current cleric, but your current cleric should have accumulated a bunch of SP that make her more useful in the short term. It's a tough call, but one you'll have to make. With Keshwa in the field, you'll rarely need more than a single cleric. Fair enough. That's why you turned Donalto into a Terranite. I don't know why. It's just something really satisfying about having him as a Terranite. Anyway, Sarah, just as your new cleric is marginally better than your older one. Let me just go over this right here. Sarah is likely to be the stronger of your two archers. However, there's no need to choose between them. Archers are so strong in these early battles that you can put them both to good use. And then Voltaire. Even if you already have a knight, Voltaire can make a welcome addition to the team. He wields a hammer, which has a high knockback rate and can be used for knocking foes off high positions or away from vulnerable characters. See, what do they mean by knockback rate? As far as I understood, it was always... This makes me wonder if weapons do actually have a different sort of rating for different things like that assigned to them. Like, for example, even if you don't have knockback on a dragon or something like that, I know that they do occasionally knock back anyway. I've never noticed that for hammers, but I guess, technically speaking, it wouldn't be impossible. It's unclear. Anyway. Rescue Donalto! Or don't. You arrive in the city of Cicero to find a lone cleric named Donalto fighting for his life against an army of undead spirits. If you can save his life, he'll join your army at the end of the battle, and if you can't, a different cleric named Felicia, with equivalent stats. See, here it's Felicia, but earlier they said Felice, so... I don't know, maybe this was just maybe Felice is just one of the generic names. I've never seen that one in, like, a decade. Then again, there's... I think somebody told me, like, over 1,000 names or something in there, so who knows. Anyway, so with equivalent stats, joins you instead, so it won't be much of a setback to your party if Donalto dies, but you will be missing out on a few mid-battle conversations in the chapters to come, as Donalto has relationships with other characters that appear throughout the game. Typically, both Donalto and Felicia will have marginally better stats than your current cleric, and as a general rule, fixed-name characters have better stats than ones with randomly generated names. Right, heal or exercise the Undead Menace. The phantoms and skeletons you face in Cicero are undead, which gives them several special properties. They're immune to dark-type damage, so your Word of Pain spell can't hurt them. Yeah, that's why I like going to water. But they're vulnerable to Divine, so heal spells damage them for the same amount they'd heal on living characters. That's not right. That might have changed at some point, but they... They basically count as an attack spell in that particular case, so they actually do less damage than they would heal. Again, unless I'm missing... I'm fairly positive on that one, because I know I've tried it on several occasions. Unfortunately, undead units never truly die. When they hit 0 HP, they collapse on the battlefield, only to rise again at full health 3 turns later. The only way to permanently destroy an undead unit is to target it with the divine magic spell Exorcism. After it collapses, you'll need a level 4 cleric or priest to cast it, and even if you do have one, its 34 MP cost doesn't come cheap. If you can't rely on Exorcism, you'll have to win before the fallen undead can rejoin the enemy ranks. I think that became 30, actually. I'm fairly certain it costs 30 in the game as it shipped. Again, I could be wrong, but something else to double check. Alright, and as far as drops go here, the only new one that seems to be coming up is that Section 6 over here, kind of over in front of that forward building, which is either a Warrior Mark, Archer Mark, Mage's Mark, or Sibyl's Mark at regular luck, a Shift Stone, Blessing Stone, Mending Seed, or Magic Seed for low luck, which Shift Stone, that's probably the earliest Shift Stone you can get, actually. And then Mage Knight Mark, Berserker Mark, or Beastmaster Mark with high luck. So if you go into that with low luck, you can potentially get an early Shift Stone if that's your... I mean, if that's something you're looking for, I guess. So there you go. Alright. Let's go to the next page. Blitz Moldova before the dead can rise again. Dinalto is facing a skeleton and an approaching phantom in the northern part of this map, while Moldova's main force is heading down the road west of your starting point. Dinalto can likely fend for himself. He has heal spells, and Kashua tends to stick close to him also, but you may want to send a few units up his way just to avoid the bottleneck of having everyone proceed down the main road. Fair advice there, actually. Have Canopus and your archer strike aggressively against the phantoms, who are easy to hit and are unlikely to survive more than 2 arrows. Fair, though they can dodge them very well on account of the rain. Have your less mobile melee forces keep the skeleton and Moldova's warrior busy, with the skeleton and phantoms coming back to life every few turns. You can't win a battle of attrition. Instead, your goal should be to get Canopus close to Moldova and finish her with long-range attacks and finishing moves. If you eliminate the phantoms and position Canopus carefully, there's little Moldova can do to protect herself. Again, solid advice. Doing good so far. So, using missile-style ranged weapons. By now you should be familiar with rounded arcs in which arrows fly, but there are also ranged attacks that fly in a straight line from their user to their target. These include crossbows and low-level attack spells like Word of Pain. These missile-style attacks are more difficult to use. However, if there's anything between the user and the target, a bush, a wall, an ally, or even a dead body, the projectile hits the intervening object instead. Note that the game lets you fire diagonally past obstacles as long as you're only crossing a corner of an occupied square. The game doesn't warn you in advance when you don't have a clear shot unless you have the trajectory skill equipped, so you need to be very careful about lining up your shots. Of course, if you mess up at a key moment, you can rewind with the chariot command. There's one nice thing about trajectory of missile projectiles, however. Most range attacks and spells won't let a character target an enemy who is directly adjacent to them. The target usually needs to be at least 2 or 3 squares away, but missile projectiles allow you to work around this restriction. If you want to hit an adjacent foe, select the target that's behind it, and the body will end up blocking the shots and taking full damage. So, there we go. I'm sure most folks figured this out back in FFT, but there you go. So bad weather cuts both ways. Wondering why your archers are suddenly having trouble landing hits? Blame the rain. While weather patterns change randomly based on the season and previous weather, this battle usually begins in the rain. I think it's guaranteed, not usually. I know I say this a lot, but it, could be wrong, but I'm about 100% certain this one's scripted to be raining. To check the weather, press start and look in the upper right corner. As a general rule, the worse the weather, the less accurate ranged weapons are, and there goes something off my desk. Fortunately, the accuracy penalties affect your foes as much as they affect you. Nice 19%, Parnell. Well, you can't see past water. Using finishing moves. If your characters unlock finishing moves when they reach rank 2 in any weapon proficiency, Canopus already has, so as long as he is equipped with a bow and axe, he has access to powerful finishing moves with each weapon. Whenever he has over 100 TP, select finishing moves from the main menu, or from his main menu to dish out a deadly attack that can end this fight in one fell swoop. Using a finishing move drains all your TP, but extra TP beyond the listed cost won't be wasted. It will boost the damage or accuracy depending on the move. Unlock 3 new recruits in Quadriga Fortress. After the battle, welcome Donaldo, Felicia, and Sarah, and Donaldo or Felicia, Sarah, and Voltaire into your army. You also unlock Quadriga Fortress to the south. Quadriga Fortress is strictly a side quest, and while it's worth doing, it would be extremely difficult to beat at your current level. Instead, return to Almorca Castle, where Duke Runway offers a new assignment to the north. See, they said it in the guide, but at least they said it. I feel like most folks, myself included, never bothered to read that full dialogue when Lenar's going on and on and on and on and on. Like, for God's sake, man, just get to the point. Go for it, kill dude. Okay, got it. What do you mean that was a side quest? Anywho, let's see. Drops-wise, what do we got here? 788, 778, 778, 777. Lots of 7s. What's 7 again? I don't know, because my dang bookmark thing fell out. Come on, pages, work with me. Or no, it didn't fall out, it fell into the book. Alright. So, yeah, bundle of herbs, mend leaves, pretty standard type dealy. Get, like, this is basically the, you either get some medicine, you get some craftables, or you get some better medicine kind of situation. It's pretty standard on that one. It's like it was either medicine, stick, pieces of medicine, or like money. That's about it. Okay, so moving on. Suggested level 4, a great grassland spreading across central Almorca. What they're trying to say is, yeah, it's just like Central America. Haha, they changed one letter. What are you going to do about it? Alright, so prep the team for your next challenge. You can find new stock on the shop shelves when you return to Almorca Castle. Now that your classes are hitting level 3 and 4, it's time to upgrade your gear. New weapons should be available for most proficiencies, and all of them are worthy upgrades. A few things to note. Your archers can move up to two-handed great bows, which have a longer range, and make sure to compensate for a wider blind spot around them. But make sure to compensate for a wider blind spot around them. Also, even if you never have your clerics and wizards swing their staves, upgrading to a magic staff is well worth it for the MP bonus. On defense, circlets offer a nice bonus for your spellcasters, while chainmail and leather sleeves keep your frontline fighters safe. Don't forget to update your skills as well. You should have enough SP to begin buying additional skill slots, and useful skills for with which to fill them. 2 to watch out for are Mighty Impact for warriors and Tremendous Shot for archers. For its 40 TP cost, both skills allow their user to perform a guaranteed critical with 100% accuracy. Using these skills at the right time can make all the difference in a tough fight. Very true. In many cases, they're actually more useful than a finisher. So, split your forces and converge on Brezen. A thin stream runs through the center of this map, dividing the landscape in two. Only runefencers and Valkyries can wade freely through the water, but don't let that stop you. Any class can jump over the river with a minor movement penalty. Send most of your fighters east, but dispatch Canopus and a few other fighters to pick off the wizard and archer that pester you from the west. Make sure your main force has a few healers, clerics and knights, and the enemies to the east and a lot of archers and... Enemies to the east have a lot of archers and enchantresses that can do serious harm before you're within close enough range to retaliate. Once you've cleared out most of the minor foes, have both squads converge on Brezen. Berserkers are particularly weak against magic, so make sure a wizard is protected as he pounds Brezen with Word of Pain spells. When positioning units on the map, keep an eye out on the lower right of the screen, where the game typically displays accuracy bonuses and various types of terrain. Gravel and earth look very similar, but offer very different levels of accuracy boosts. Okie doke, nothing too amazing there. Oh, I just noticed this has been going on for a hot minute. Well, this is going to take more parts than expected. Oh well, moving on. The Archaeopolis of Rhyme. The ancient city, constructed several centuries in the past, was the site of the first battle between the Galgastanian and Walliser clans. Still seems very standing, despite that. Also very... well, they don't really have a whole lot of defenses going on, do they? Alright. Drops from common to rare everywhere. This is actually the first time that you see... wait a minute. That ain't right. Where's H at? Why do they not list H here? They got a few others with no drops. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then they forgot the most important drop guy right there. Is that even right? Is H supposed to be the dragon? Because, I mean, they have him right there in the picture. Basically, for those that don't know, he might... I think that actually might be him and the dragons right there. Or no, that's supposed to be the Beastmaster right there, and the dragons right there. The first Beastmaster here is the one that drops 3 Beastmaster marks for you. So protect Sistina at all costs. Don't be too casual about making vows and tactics, Ogre. The game may force you to uphold them. At the start of the battle, if you promise to protect Sistina at all costs, allow Sistina to fall will be added as a term of defeat. If you don't promise to save her, you can win even if she dies, but since Sistina might come in handy later, it's a good idea to save her anyway. Sistina is an aggressive attacker who is eager to jump into the fray and never uses healing items nor retreats to safety. The trick to rescuing her is to exploit the way the enemy chooses its target. It doesn't attack the character with the lowest HP, but rather the one with the lowest defensive stats. Valkyries like Sistina have average defensive stats, so your wizards, clerics, archers, and Canopus would all be perceived by your foes as more tempting targets. Placing those targets on the right side of your deployment, which will be the left side of the map, so that they can reach Sistina more quickly. As soon as your foes have a chance at one of these easy targets, they'll give up on Sistina entirely. Don't let that stop you from healing her, and you don't want her to die from an enemy counterattack or something. Once Sistina is safe, she ceases to be a liability and can be a powerful ally. Her Ruination finishing move should be good for at least one dead enemy soldier. Unfortunately, she doesn't join your army when the battle ends, but this won't be the last you see of her. And that's pretty fair advice, actually. And it's kind of funny that she's already in critical in their first screenshot here. But yeah, that actually makes sense. Though wizards and clerics, you can't really get them close unless you've farmed out a extra wingy type dude in the previous map. But yeah, archers and Canopus. I mean, archers can't really move very fast, but potentially they might move faster than a wizard. I guess clerics and Canopus would actually be the best option, looking at it now. Because clerics are actually relatively quick. Holy cow, they've got a dragon! Your foes are few in number, but they have several powerful units, including a beast tamer. See, they remembered him now. A winged archer and an earth dragon. This unit has over 200 HP, very high defensive stats, and can dish out a lot of damage with its special attacks. Your best bet is to have your wizard or enchantress attempt to bring it down with a sleep spell so you can move around and finish off the other foes first. Bolus, your main target on this map, isn't hard to kill. I disagree, but alright. But if you covet the dragon's item drops, surround it and bring it down with concentrated attacks from your strongest frontline fighters before you slay Bolus to end the battle, that's actually pretty solid advice. He has very low evasion against stuff like sleep. Again, they don't actually list his drops, so I mean, kind of biting yourself in the foot there, but all right. You face no resistance at Fedoc Castle, or continuing to your next objective. You face no resistance at Fedoc Castle, allowing you to complete your mission and return to Duke Ronway. However, there's a chance you may trigger a random encounter when you pass through the Golborza Plain. Make the most of the opportunity to learn EXP and SP by fielding your weakest units. When you return to Duke Ronway, he orders you west to Balamamusa, but there's also the matter of your unfinished business at Kadriga to the south. Now is a good time to finish off that side quest, since you won't be coming back this way anytime soon. If your best units aren't yet level 5, try to provoke a random battle at Golborza Plain or Tynemouth Hill by walking back and forth over those areas, so you can get your units up to speed for the tough battle that awaits at Kadriga. See, it was all in the guide. They did a good job. Nothing new numbers-wise for these drops here. Alright. Moving on. So, blitz the castle walls in a race against time. That's fair. Besides Nibbth, every enemy unit in this battle is an undead creature that returns to life 3 turns after it falls. Exorcism will only backfire. Removing an enemy from the battlefield allows Nibbth to summon a new one to replace it. Without the ability to do any lasting damage to his troops, your only real option is to rush Nibbth and take him out before your side suffers any permanent casualties. As a general rule, you should spend the first few turns of this battle conservatively building up TP while you protect your units and with careful positioning and lots of healing. But when you start suffering casualties, you have to begin the blitz before anyone loses a life. If you can't break Nibbth down in time, use Blessing Stones to bring your dead back to life. The enemy forces will probably just kill them again, but at least it resets their bleed-out timer. Again, solid advice. That makes total sense. Also, the weird weird quality from the scanning on this particular picture. Kind of makes that guy look like he has scars, and that's kind of cool looking. Alright, position your units to maximum effect. At the start of the fight, move Canopus to the single raised patch of land east of your starting position. From there, he can fly directly into the castle on his second turn. True. Position your other units 2 squares away from the base of the walls to lure Nibbths to zombified humans down to the ground. You don't want to kill them while they're on the walls, or their bodies will end up blocking the path to the top. Snipe Nibbth out with long-range attacks. Your key units are archers and Canopus, and any other unit, such as warriors, that have equipped a bow or crossbow. Nibbth doesn't have a lot of HP, but he can be tough to hit, especially if the weather turns. Make sure your archers know Tremendous Shot, which gives them 100% accuracy and guaranteed crits, and that Canopus still has access to his axe, so he can bury it in Nibbth's back when his arrows falter. Well then. Your other units currently serve as distractions, engaging enemies on the wall, so your archers can slip into range and provide healing services to the archers themselves. Clerics should be left on the ground. See? Solid. Solid advice overall. Oh, there's actually one new drop showing up on this map, kind of around the middle there. That 9 there is... well, on low luck, it's pretty much just complete garbage. It's just really low-end craftables. You've got a Mend +2 or a Magic +2 on the medium end, and on the high end, you've got Silver, Adept +1, Gemstones, or Crystals. So, not awful. I mean, with high luck, it's worth it, I suppose. Somebody told me that somewhere it mentions that, yeah, if you... Actually, no, I think we read this last time. That you pretty much always boost yourself by 1 category with Treasure Hunter. So maybe it is worth using. Lots of peregrine marks on this map. Alright, make a stand on the islands of Lake Bordeaux. Let's see, several rivers feed into this marsh-bound lake to the west of Cretonai. The marshy terrain of Lake Bordeaux makes it difficult to maneuver and provides little cover or high ground from which to fight. This seems a daunting obstacle, but clever commanders can use it against their foes to turn a battle into a one-sided rout. The key is to claim and hold the islands in the center of the map. Position your characters at the edges of the grass and rock, which offers a bit of elevation and nice accuracy bonuses. True. And force your foes to come from the swamp below. The water running through the swamp severely limits the mobility of those types of units, allowing you to destroy most of the enemy warriors and berserkers before they can even reach you. Of course, this strategy makes your units sitting ducks against enemy wizards and archers, so keep clerics and knights handy I kind of cut it off there. To repair whatever damage they do. I would not have thought that... oh, that actually, yeah. Looking at it now, that does say repair. I thought it said step something. Repair whatever damage they do. After you destroy the enemy's front line, you can break formation to hunt down remaining long-range units. Okie dokie. Alright. Oops. Alright. Enemies who don't carry special items may instead leave behind tarot cards when they die. Whenever characters pick up a tarot card, they receive a small but permanent stats boost in addition to adding the card to your inventory. Tarot cards can be used as sundry items that offer a temporary stat boost or status condition. Most stat boosts amount to a mere fraction of a point, but over the long run they do add up. Make sure to grab tarot cards with your best characters so they aren't wasted on units who have to be replaced in the future. Note the tarot cards on the battlefield at the end of the battle won't be added to your inventory like other items. Also, the Devil and Death cards may bring you temporary bad luck penalties instead of stat bonuses, but will still be worth grabbing for their item efforts. And expand your ranks with enemy turncoats. Now that you're accumulating lots of extra skill points, it's time to start thinking about having a few characters specialize in recruitment. The recruit skill allows a character to attempt to convince an enemy to change sides on the battlefield. If the character accepts, he or she will immediately transform into a controllable unit. At the end of the battle, you can recruit the character. The easiest characters to recruit are those with low loyalty and low HP. While the recruit skill can target enemies anywhere in the map, it is likely only to succeed against foes who are immediately adjacent to your character. There are 9 different skills that allow you to recruit enemy units, each allowing the enlistment of a different enemy race or type. Currently in the game, the most relevant skill is Recruit, which targets humans. It can be learned by knights, clerics, and rune fencers or valkyries. Well, now you have it right. It's generally a good idea to have a combat class learn Recruit, so they can benefit from its companion skill, Anatomy. See, that's the thing. I think in a lot of cases they knew, they just kind of ran out of space, because seriously, how do you even go about explaining most of the stuff in this game? It's ridiculous. Alright, and kind of a weird note on tarot cards there. It's kind of interesting because if you look at the missing drops over here, like you see a bunch of stuff where it's NA, it's clear that like when you do random battles, they'll all have drops, so you're pretty unlikely to get cards. But then on story fights, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a few characters that are going to drop them. It's just kind of a cool way that they game their own system, so to speak. That's nothing new drop-wise. Let's see, a vast wetland in the middle of the Cretonai region, made rich by the flow of the Zode. Alright. Or Zaode. It was called Zode, but whatever. Alright, let your enemies meet you on solid ground. There's even less stable terrain on this marshy battlefield than there was in Lake Bordeaux. Fortunately, begin with a solid scrub and grass beneath your feet, and that's all you need. Instead of going after your foes, arrange your troops at the edges of the solid ground, so any incoming attack has to come from the marsh. This works fine until the griffins arrive, as they can fly right into your midst. At that point, you can end the battle by surrounding and attacking the griffins, or picking off Gamp himself. With long-range projectiles. When either of the three targets is near death, Gamp warps himself and the griffins away to end the battle. If there are any items you wish to collect from other foes, ignore these critical targets until you kill the other foes and collect their loot. Which, yeah, there really isn't too much you get. There's Peregrine marks, but you should have more than enough by this point. Those also kind of happen by accident. There's one guy that drops a blessing stone, but meh. Alright. Then Balmamusa. Why is my phone going off? What's up with that? Huh. Anyway. So, Balmamusa Part 1 and 2. A coal mining town in the middle of the bomb range. The houses here sprung up naturally around the mine shafts. 2, 3, and 6. I don't think we've seen 6 before. What's that about? 6 is shift stone. So yeah, there's another potential chance to get a shift stone there. Kind of in the center of the map. That's probably where a lot of folks get that early on. Most of the other drops here are just class marks, so yeah, it's just like the one potential chance to get a shift stone. And it's kind of funny because one of the things that they recommend, not in the guide, but just in general, you see a lot of folks recommend is auto-grinding with Valkyries and stuff like that, using barricades. And they always mention using shift stones on the entire group, and it's just the odds of having 5 to 6 shift stones early on in the game to make that busted is super unlikely, but anyway. Still some tasty coffee. Alright. Slay every last man. This battle should be one of the easiest yet. Not only do you have the enemy outmanned and overpowered, but your troops enjoy the advantage of fighting from high ground. The added height allows your archers to target any foe within their range without obstruction, and even a few squares beyond their marked range, while your foes have a harder time landing their shots. Instead of targeting a leader, your mission is to wipe out the entire enemy brigade. Since each soldier drops a bag of loot, you'll have wanted to do that anyway. Jeez. Grim much. Live with the consequences. At the end of the battle, you have to make a difficult decision in the middle of an endgame event. There's no right answer, and either choice has negative consequences. Refusing Lenar's proposal triggers battle I-11C. Make sure to file that right after Form 729, after which you'll begin the Chaos version of Chapter 2. Accepting his proposal triggers I-11L and the Law version of Chapter 2. This decision cannot be reversed, but after completing the game, you'll have an opportunity to play through the paths you chose not to travel. I do like that they mention that. Again, a lot of this guide, you'll see moments of like, hey, just so you know, this is coming up in the future. Just chill. Don't worry about the details much right now. You know, we'll we'll get to them as they come. All right. So I-11C still Balmamusa. Most of them are going to be dropping cards instead of items, interestingly enough. And all right. So fight your way back up the Balmamusa Hill. Players who chose to defy Duke Ronway's order fight in this easier but still tough version of Chapter 1's final battle. Those who agree to cooperate with Lenar should skip to the next page. Once again, you're fighting in the streets of Balmamusa, but the terrain has been turned against you. You begin at the lowest point and have to fight your way uphill. Have everyone take the shallow, double-wide stairs up the town's main street and fan out when they reach it. Send a heavily armored knight up the road to attract enemy spells and arrow fire while you keep your while your own archers make their way up the buildings on the left side of the street. So, that's solid, I suppose. You just basically go up this way. Not bad. They can't really make this jump here, so it's kind of more like... I guess they do say to branch out here, so that advice works. Let's see. Keep your clerics near the staircase itself, where its steep walls protect them from enemy attacks, but allow them to cast their indirect healing spells on friendly targets. Keep your fighters at least 2 squares apart so the enemy Valkyries and Rune Fencers can't hit multiple targets, and the Enchantress can't catch multiple targets in a single poison cloud. Overall, solid advice, nothing terribly fancy. And the last thing we're going to cover here today is going to be Balmamusa I-11L. Coal mining town in the middle of Bomb, as they said before. Once again, mostly dropping cards on this one, although we do get a spell if you get the Wizard. Alright, so spare Ravenous for a future reward. God, this brings to mind that one... You know what? Where's that picture? There's one picture that somebody posted a while ago that just... I have to show it if I can. Hang on. It's gotta be somewhere here. I know we're kind of stepping away for a quick moment here, but I'm pretty sure most folks will know the picture I'm talking about, where it's just like Denim thinking about Ravenous naked while stabbing civilians. It's not actually like fully naked, it's made as a joke, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the hell all that thing went. Somebody sent it to me a while ago. Anyway, so if you agree to participate in Duke Ronway and Leonard's plans, Ravenous stands against you while the Galgastani surge in from the east, but Ravenous is not your enemy. The victory condition here is only to wipe out the Galgastani. If you can spare Ravenous now, there may be the hope of turning her to your way of thinking in the future, but if you kill her here, she's gone for good. Of course, wiping out the Galgastani with Ravenous stabbing you in the back won't be easy. One option is to have your Wizard or Enchantress target her with a Dark Spell Magic, or Air Spell Balmy Breeze. Both are pretty solid. Both offer poor odds of success, but you can boost your chances by using the Emperor Terror card to boost your unit's magic accuracy. Alright, not terrible advice. You definitely don't see that buff come up very often, so there you go. Of course, sleep won't last forever, but it allows you to get your troops into the main part of town and hopefully position some of the Galgastani forces so they're between Ravenous and you. Ravenous is an equal opportunity assailant who is just as happy to dig her spear into Galgastani flesh, and the Galgastani don't mind returning the favor. Thanks to Ravenous, this battle is even tougher than the Chaos version. The one break law characters get is an enemy squad that is much less loyal to the Chaos version. If the opportunity presents itself, try to even the odds by flipping the enemy Rune Fencer or Archer that that begins the battle in the northeast corner of the map. Alright. I think I've actually done that before, come to think of it. That's... You know what? That's solid. Overall, solid advice. Can't go, I can't say much about it. So far, yeah. It's, there hasn't really been anything really off or anything. This has been pretty solid advice overall. Looks like you can actually get another shift stone here, potentially. But yeah, that'll be that for today. I just wanted to cover Chapter 1 to begin with. Then we'll do Chapter 2 next time, but yeah, no, I'm really surprised, considering how much there is to cover on this insanely complicated game. It's just impressive to me that I know we've only covered Chapter 1, but they are doing their very best to cover everything. I mean, again, we don't ever see steel tables. I'm pretty sure they just didn't get given steel tables, and they were just like, screw it, we're not going to figure this out. Just steel works, that's all you need to know. But then again, maybe it'll say later, like, you can steal a 2, 3, 5, whatever. We'll see. We haven't quite gotten there yet. But yeah, definitely impressed by this guide so far. And, yeah, definitely far better written than the rest of the series, I will say for sure. Alright, you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time. Take care.